Hello, I am Kira, and today we're exploring the quiet strengths that can shape your whole life. The kind that people may not notice immediately, but the kind that can change your whole life. The kind that helps you keep going even when life feels heavy, even when nobody sees how hard you're trying. Sometimes people think power has to be grandiose and performative, but true strength is often quiet and understated. It's easy to value unshakable composure or perpetual skill, to wait for that one golden remark. But the truth is, life is usually much messier and more human than that. Sometimes your real power is the way you survive hard seasons. Sometimes it is your patience, staying calm while things slowly fall into place. Sometimes power is simply discipline, the quiet habit of rising and continuing, especially when the spark of motivation is gone. Sometimes it is your ability to listen, truly listen to people, to silence, and even to yourself. Sometimes your strength is found in your kindness or in your refusal to compromise your integrity when silence would be the easier path. Sometimes it is the courage to say no when the pressure is to say yes. Real power isn't always about winning. It's about the strength to begin again after an ending and the simple, profound act of showing up every day for those who need you. And sometimes your quiet strength is the way you care for someone when they cannot care for themselves. And I really love this topic because it makes you stop and think, yes, perhaps strength is quiet. Perhaps it is about endurance. It's the resolve to stay on your creative path long after the doubts have moved in. It is the choice to protect your inner peace rather than exhausting yourself to prove your worth. These are the strengths that truly matter, the ones that quietly forge your character over time. I think many people already possess this kind of power, but they overlook it. They tell themselves, I'm not the most successful person. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the strongest person. I'm not the most organized person. I'm not the most confident. I'm not the most talented. But they miss the deeper truth. Maybe their real strength is that they refused to grow cold when life got tough. Maybe it's the fact that they kept moving when there was no one left to cheer them on. Maybe their greatest power is simply that they did the right thing, even when it cost them something. And sometimes that is the only kind of strength that truly counts. Today, we're looking at the quiet superpowers that really matter, the ones that help you grow from within. Before we dive in, if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing and sharing this with someone who needs to hear it. And before we begin, tell me in the comments, what do you think your real superpower is? It can be something quiet. Maybe it's staying calm, maybe it's listening well, or maybe being patient. All right, let's dive into the first one. Sometimes the strength that changes you the most begins in struggle. It sounds strange at first, doesn't it? No one wakes up and thinks, you know what I want today? A difficult season. We don't ask for the struggle. We don't idealize it. And we don't pretend that pain is beautiful. But what we can say is that struggle leaves something behind. It carves out a deeper space within you. It forces you to slow down. It teaches you what actually matters. Sometimes the struggle has to strip away the false things first. The image, the ego, the constant need to look like you have it all together. And when all of that is gone, what's left? The real you. The real you is stronger, more honest, and more grounded. I believe these difficult seasons are what make a person unshakable. And unshakable doesn't mean perfect or fearless. It just means solid, firm. Many of you probably know this feeling firsthand. Maybe you've faced a heartbreak. Maybe you've lost something you loved. Maybe life simply didn't go the way you planned. But somehow you are still here. And that matters, because after certain battles you don't become louder, you become deeper. You speak with more intention, you judge a little less. At some point, you realize that you're starting to understand people more. It doesn't mean you aren't shaken or that everything is suddenly fine. It just means you're surviving without completely falling apart. You keep moving forward, even when your hands are shaking. And I think that is one of the most human superpowers of all. Think about it. Some difficulties don't just test your strength, they test your relationship with yourself. When things go wrong, do you turn against yourself? Or do you learn to sit with yourself, to encourage yourself, and to carry yourself through the fire? Honestly, some of the best people I know are those who have suffered and walked through dark times. Not because suffering automatically makes you wise, but because it shatters your illusions. You become softer, but not weaker, kinder, but stronger. Life hits you a few times and suddenly you stop arguing about silly things. You stop wasting time on superficial battles. That is the painful truth. Your priorities shift, your perspective opens up, and even your patience becomes something different. That's why struggle can become a superpower. Not because it feels good, but because it builds depth, resilience, and character. And that leads us naturally to the next quiet strength. Yes, let's talk about consistency, because people often love the big moments, the big speeches, the big motivation, the big energy, and then silence. The couch becomes the most beloved piece of furniture. The sports bag is put away in the closet. The journal is closed. Yes, but true change is usually quieter than that. Consistency is not exciting every day. Sometimes it looks very ordinary. It is answering a phone call, an email, going for a walk, practicing a new language, saving a little money, going to bed on time, and so on. That is why I think consistency is a quiet superpower, because small repeated efforts change more. In a world that constantly pressures us to react in an instant, to shift gears, and to compare ourselves at breakneck speed, consistency is a quiet superpower. It is the ability to remain steady when everything around you urges you to rush, to keep moving forward without unnecessary turbulence, simply and humbly. Today, the ability to show up for something day after day without noise or fanfare is a true rarity, but it is precisely within this consistency that trust is born. And the most vital trust is not the one others have in us, but the trust we hold in ourselves. Every time you tell yourself, "I'll do this," and then you actually follow through, even in the smallest way, you send a signal to your mind, "I can be relied upon." This is how deep, authentic confidence is built. It isn't the loud self-assurance of words, but the quiet certainty of actions. I don't need to convince myself that I am capable. I simply look at the steps I've already taken and know that I will never stop showing up. If struggle gives us depth, then consistency is what gives us shape. It builds the structure of our lives quietly, brick by brick. But once you begin to create that stability, you need something to protect it. And that something is discipline. Everyone loves the results of discipline, but few enjoy the feeling of it in the moment, because often it isn't a loud heroic feat, it is simply the ability to say no to your current mood. This is where its greatest value lies. Discipline protects your future self. It stops temporary emotions from causing permanent damage. We all know that voice whispering, "You can always start tomorrow." In those moments, true discipline takes the form of restraint. We often imagine discipline as a grand, heroic effort. But in everyday life, it is more about what you don't do. It is found in moments of conscious restraint. Not sending that angry message in the heat of the moment. Not buying something you don't need just to fill a void. Not quitting too early once the initial wave of enthusiasm has faded. Not speaking up just because your ego demands the last word. Not checking your phone for the 100th time when you know you need stillness. Not complaining about circumstances instead of taking the small step that is within your control. Not reaching for the food that you know your body will regret in an hour. Not judging someone in your mind before trying to understand their own quiet battle. Not saying yes to the expectations of others when your inner voice is screaming no. These are the quiet victories. They don't bring applause, but they are exactly what protects the foundation you've built with such consistency. Discipline is the choice to remain faithful to the person you want to become, even when the emotion of the moment is pulling you in the opposite direction. This last one is a skill for life. When emotions run high, you need to keep your head. That means staying calm and thinking clearly under pressure, because life will inevitably test you through work stress, family struggles, financial uncertainty, or simply bad moods and misunderstandings. In those moments, discipline isn't just about following a routine, it's about mental steadiness. The ability to pause before reacting can save relationships, money, time, and most importantly, your peace of mind. This brings us to another modern superpower, adaptability. This matters so much now because the world changes at breakneck speed. Technology, jobs, people, plans, even our own identities are in constant flux. Adaptable people do something incredibly powerful. They accept reality faster, not because they like every change, but because they understand that fighting reality is a waste of precious energy. They still feel disappointment, they still feel fear, but they don't stay frozen for long. What helps them here is composure. Composure is the calm, controlled way of behaving, especially in moments when a storm is raging around you. It gives you the space to think, and that space is exactly what allows you to adapt. It gives you the space to think, and that space is what allows you to adapt. Because when something changes suddenly, our first reaction is often emotional, and composure helps us find our way back to logic. Those who adapt well are often strong in another area, emotional intelligence. People often think intelligence is just logic, facts, and fast thinking. But emotional intelligence is what truly transforms our daily lives. It helps you understand what you are feeling, why you are reacting, and what invisible luggage others might be carrying. Emotionally intelligent people are often deeply intuitive. They have the ability to understand something quickly and naturally without needing every detail explained. No one has to say, "I'm upset." You can feel it. You hear it in the silence, in the tone of voice, in the face, or in the weight of a pause. You pick up on those signals, the subtle things that aren't said directly. Because people are rarely an open book. Sometimes they say, "I'm fine," but their eyes are saying, "Please ask me again." Or at work, someone might say, "No problem," while their energy says, "This is definitely a problem." Having this sensitivity means being able to see beyond the masks we all wear. Emotional intelligence isn't just about reading others. It's a tool for managing yourself. It's noticing, "I am tired, and that's why I'm reacting so sharply," or "I am hurt, so I am becoming defensive." That brief pause of recognition can prevent so much unnecessary damage. This is where true confidence takes root. When you understand your emotional patterns, you no longer feel controlled by them. This leads us directly to self-awareness, a broader, deeper understanding of your habits, fears, strengths, and blind spots. Self-awareness changes everything. Because when you don't know yourself, you keep fighting the wrong battles. You blame laziness, but the real issue might be fear. You blame others, but the real issue might be your own communication. You call yourself weak, but perhaps you are simply exhausted. Self-awareness gives you discernment, the ability to judge clearly and see what is helping you versus what is harming you. Once you see clearly, you stop moving blindly. You start noticing the patterns. I say yes when I mean no. I shut down when I feel criticized. I procrastinate when something matters too much to me. I pretend to be confused when I'm actually just afraid. This clarity is the ultimate power. The power to finally choose a different path. When you finally understand your own wiring a little better, you stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking, "What do I need? What patterns do I keep repeating? What can I change?" That shift in perspective is incredibly powerful. And as you understand yourself better, you naturally become better at understanding others. Many people hear words, but very few truly listen. Most are already preparing their answer while the other person is still speaking. They aren't truly in the conversation. Active listening is different. It is presence, patience, curiosity, and respect. It is emotional intelligence in action. You pick up on what someone means, not just what they say. You notice the hesitation, the tone, the energy, the truth behind the sentence. When someone feels truly heard, everything changes. People open up, trust grows, and defensiveness drops. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say isn't a brilliant sentence. It's a sincere, quiet, "I understand. Tell me more," or simply giving someone your full, undivided attention for a single minute. This is social power in its most human form. Not manipulation, not a performance, but real connection. Good listeners are the people we feel safe around. That kind of power is often much quieter than people think. It's a strength that lives inside a person, the kind you might miss if you only look at appearances. Real strength is often much quieter than people think. It doesn't need to shout. It simply endures. So, take a quiet moment for yourself and ask, what kind of quiet strength has been carrying you lately? Perhaps it's your knack for hearing what goes unsaid, your gift for finding meaning in small moments, or your resolve to choose kindness even on your hardest days. Acknowledge it, honor it. And if this video spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who might need to hear this today. Thank you for being here.